In this week's Memes and Machines, it went wild, I'll be honest. We started with Marques Brownlee's terrible wallpaper product. We talked about Meta's new glasses, a revolution in hardware. Is this the moment that AI augmentation really becomes a thing? We unpicked why James Cameron, the incredible director, the godfather of CGI, moving to an AI company, why that was a genius move. We dive into Zuck. Is he an evil villain, a super genius? We believe a super genius, and we explain why. And finally, we conclude by sharing personal stories about scams, why we have fallen to the trap of buying the Meta blue tick, LinkedIn getting rid of the yellow tick. Do we agree? Do we disagree? And is Friends a scam? Overhyped. Ben, do you think they're a sheep? Did you use that word? Sheep?
I hate Friends with a passion. I just think everybody likes it because everybody else likes it. It's almost like you can't say you don't. How can you not like Friends? Oh, so I'm supposed to like Friends because everybody else likes Friends. No, you go sheep off over there.
Yeah, but big news in the AI space, right? What a week. Everyone's going mainstream. It's like, seriously, you've got to get involved now because when mainstream happens, the flood starts to pour. Holy God.
Sit back, grab a cold beverage from the fridge and relax because you're now locked in to the sounds of memes and machines.
Gents, it is great to see you as always. How's things?
Friday.
Doing good, cheers, you.
Great. Friday feels. It's been a massive week in the world. Controversy, tech updates, you name it, it's happened. I have just roasted Ben online for some of the things that he says on this show. How do you feel, Ben? Let's start there.
I feel quite tired, to be fair. I've actually had a long week, to be fair. I don't have many long weeks, but I've actually had to work full days this week. It was tiring.
Oh, the life of a content creator.
Yeah, brought me back to the life that I used to have, and I was like, wow, yeah. I'm more of a half day kind of man, if I'm honest.
Chris is with zero empathy going to raise over. Feeling like I
love that he's already had enough of the influence hair out there because, Ollie got big. Now he's like gloating and yeah.
So I've got an update on this. You know, I told you that LinkedIn had backstabbed me, and after I publicly shared that they were boosting my content, they stopped boosting my content. Guess what? This week...
You got another biggie.
This week, they are back. And they're boosting.
I knew they would be because I saw you, actually. I saw you in my own home feed. Like, you know, the top 5 suggestions when you get down to the mobile bit. You were number 2. I got a screenshot of it. So I know that like, you know, high impressions you were talking about, that makes a lot of sense because even if you scroll past that bit, you're there. Your face is like number 2 tile.
Well, let's remember that I'm coming for number 1. I'm just putting that on the record so everyone knows. That's called a public commitment, number 1. By the way, gents, there's like so much to talk about, so I'm just going to dive into it. The first thing I will mention, and I don't like to start this on a negative note, but we like a little bit of gossip here. Marques Brownlee, one of the biggest tech reviewers in the world, probably the biggest, has released a product. And to cut a long story short, that product is an app that sells wallpaper. And you're probably thinking, an app that sells wallpaper. I'm going to read you a line from my favorite, like, random internet newsletter called Garbage Day. So Garbage Day is like internet culture meets technology meets satire. Really, really interesting, always well written. So it says here, Marques Brownlee released an absolute head-scratcher of a project this week called Panels. It's a subscription-based app that sells high-resolution wallpapers for your phone. First and foremost, the idea that someone would care enough about a wallpaper on an iPhone to pay for it requires such an advanced level of Apple guy brain rot that I actually can't imagine it. And the idea that someone out there is changing their phone's wallpaper regularly enough for a $12 a month subscription for new ones chills me beyond the bones. I'm going to kick that to one of you. Who wants to go first? Who's got some opinions? What do you think?
Go on, Ben.
I just think that's a really, well, like stating the obvious, it's obviously a bad decision. What I don't understand is how somebody with that much influence and power in the tech space cannot build a team that like have brain cells. I'm just like, that's what I'm a bit confused at. Like, how has that gone through? They obviously just smoking crack in a boardroom, like, and all going, yeah, like wallpaper app. Wow, yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, like I don't know what. Like when they decided to come up with, thought I mean, it's been done to death. I can buy a wall at 8K, 1600 million K wallpaper app from my app store. There's so many of them. So I don't understand what is their USP. Their USP is that the app's made by Marques, but that's not a USP. Like that's just like associating somebody with it to, you know, gain initial trust. But I am like, I've read some comments and everybody is just saying that the app looks buggy, like full of ads, some strange data collection clauses. And then Marques has come out and said, oh, he's obviously got his PR team to tell him. It's like, this is what it's like when you build in public. You learn really quickly. Mate, that doesn't make up the fact that you've just launched something that's absolutely shit. Like a wallpaper app. I could understand if you're building a complex app that's like a SaaS business or a product like some headphones or that. Yeah, fair. You've built an app that hosts wallpapers, for God's sake. I could probably build that next week with this cursor app that everybody's talking about, and I could do it myself. So that's just my rant over. Not really bad decision. I question, my final thought on that is that will damage his let's say his reputation is 100%. He's got a great reputation. That's damaged it down to like 85. How long will it take for that to just be brushed under the carpet? It'd be interesting to know whether they ditch the project, whether they actually think, do you know what, we can't recover this because we've actually now realized it's so shit. Like the only thing we can now do is just make it free and just say, do you know what, we messed up, have it all for free. Like they won't do that. So I wonder if they're going to ditch it and whether or not people will just forget about it and his reputation, even though it has been damaged a little bit. Actually, you know, will people just forget about it?
That's a nice little reversal idea there, actually, because when it is an app subscription model, if you just like open sourced it, that's a lot better than the rug pulls you see in like crypto scams or stuff like NFT projects, you know. So at least there is things that could be done right here. And it sounds like it's very short-sighted by the guys behind the, you know, the idea of it, because in one half we've been making episodes about open sourced image generators like Flux that now have upscale resolution and the ability to completely download this for free to your computer. And then on the other side, we're talking about high premium wallpaper apps that it just doesn't make sense. Like, you know, that's not a business model that would really fly. Even in 2009, that was overdone to death. But now in 2024, in the age of generative AI images and upscaling, it feels so short-sighted that that's the idea that's going to, you know, make $1 billion.
Chris,
talk
me through like the workflow to generating and then upscaling. Like what would you say is the best free way to do it, and and then the best way to do it? So I want one of these background images. I want to do it myself. I want to upscale it. What like tools would you use, and like what would be the cost of it?
So up until recently, and I say recently as in like only 2 months ago, basically everything you had to do was a paid for image generation tool on a subscription basis. So kind of no better than the wallpaper app. But then when Flux came out, it was an open source, free to use thing. Now, the only thing stopping you from just downloading it straight to your computer is some technical knowledge. So now there are places that host it all over the internet because they like the traffic that it produces. So one is called Civit AI. Another one is called...
How do you spell that?
CIVITAI.com. Okay. Another one is called FreePix. So FREEPIX.com. They're actually European based. I'm going to go and meet with those guys.
They
They're
just
based
emailed.
over
They
in
just emailed me
Spain.
this morning, actually.
Yeah, really cool company.
Yeah.
Did they talk to you about something in Malaga?
No, they've just emailed me asking.
Just general interest stuff. They were emailing me about a potential masterclass as well in Malaga, and I was like, oh, that's very cool. They're doing events similar to like Spotlight, that we're going to be at. I think theirs is called Upscale. So really cool company. So FreePix hosts. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give these guys a real good shout out here. So a long time ago, I spoke to this guy called Javi, who owns an AI company called Magnific. And they have 1 million users on their Upscaling AI image tool. And it's 2 guys in Spain that launched this tool. 1 million users, 2 guys, right? One of the most incredible stories in AI that hardly anybody knows about. They got bought by FreePic about 6 months ago. And what they've done is they've basically taken Magnific and they've added Flux and they've launched a new thing called Mystic, which is a combination of the 2 tools. So Flux, the best open source image generator, Magnific, the best upscaler that FreePic purchased to combine with Flux. And now you have something called Mystic, and now it's on its version 2 model. And I would say that is the best free open source image generation tool on the internet.
Wait, Mystic is so free?
Yes, Mystic version 2, I think, is free via FreePic, although it might be in an alpha rollout, so it might be only available to paid users at the moment. I'm not sure exactly. But I saw them announce it like 2 days ago on Twitter, and it looks incredible. It honestly looks like Midjourney version 6 levels of photorealism.
Yeah, I love hearing these stories of just these seemingly, tiny teams just doing incredible things. I definitely think it's a signal to the future. Just to close off the sort of Marques, I think I was pronouncing his name wrong. Heard Ben correct me.
Marques Brownlee, yeah.
Marques. Just to round that off, I think there's probably 3 lessons for me when I look at. I'm not going to judge the guy for launching a terrible idea. I kind of go.
Why not?
Just because I go, you know what? I don't think you should judge people for trying. Not every idea is a good one, and like this is a really bad one. But let me build my case before you slam me, right? So,
I'm ready. Let me just interject quickly. If Apple built and launched a wallpaper app and charged 50, would you slam them? We go, no, what, fair play, Apple.
I'm an Apple fanboy. I would sign up, take my money out. Apple, sign the check. I'll Apple pay that shit today. So Ben, hold your horses, right? Sure. So the 3 things I want to say on this. I don't judge him, or I'll park that. I definitely do judge him because I'm human. But let me just say I'll park the bad product. People make mistakes. What I think this signals to me is the negative cost of attention. We talk about attention as a huge advantage. If you have aspirations to launch a business and your business has flaws, or I don't know, the staff are unhappy or something of that nature, having a lot of attention around everything you do isn't a good thing because you won't always win. So we don't talk enough about the negative costs of attention. And it's probably because the positives massively outweigh the negatives. The second thing I want to say is we have this misconception that creators are good at business. Often not the case. They're phenomenal creators. Doesn't mean they're necessarily good at business. And the vast majority of creator-led businesses all fail. They get a lot of attention. We talk about the outliers. It's like most things. We look at the 1% of winners and we have this very skewed perception of what actually works. There are only a handful of truly exceptional creator or celebrity-led brands. There are so many failures, just a huge graveyard of failures. And
I think the issue there is because it's a full-time job.
100%.
It's a full-time job to run a company and market it properly. And, being a full-time creator, they're good at their own business, but they're not good at necessarily traditional businlike models.
Yeah. And you can be good at both, right? There are some people that...
It is a rare skill to be good at both.
Yeah, it's like marketing. You have left brain marketeers, right brain marketeers generally. Sometimes people are good at both. Last thing I will say is this is just a signal to all of us. The one thing the world does not stand is hypocrisy, particularly the internet. If you make a living of criticizing others, fundamentally, I'm saying positive things about others. The minute you do something, you are fair game. You are fair game to be criticized, particularly when you drop a $12 a month wallpaper app as a tech reviewer.
Honestly, I think that's the biggest scenario here is the PR damage. Over the, small, like how many people downloaded it and the instant backlash, it's the potential putting off big brands that, see him as purely quality. Like Ben said, if his credibility was 100% and that got the premium brands unlocked, to dip down to 85 is quite a big leap. Like that might put off the biggest of the big, which he is, as you said, the biggest tech influencer on YouTube, at least on YouTube. Maybe in the world.
Let me ask you a question on that, and this is for both of you. Do you think you can have your time in the spotlight indefinitely? Do we have user cases of people that just stand the test of time? Because I tend to believe that everyone has a moment and their relevance declines unless they reinvent themselves in a really relevant way. The best example I'll give you is you have Gary Vee was the godfather of kind of the entrepreneur / content creator public figure. He's getting destroyed by Alex Hormozi, big jack guy that kind of, speaks to younger people in a more relevant way to them. And then now you've got Gary Vee that's kind of not changed or hasn't evolved his language in the last 15 years. He's kind of doing the same thing. And I do wonder if those dynamics will always continue. And someone like Marques, who's like the godfather, does he slowly going to decline from this point?
I don't think so, because the YouTube dynamics versus the LinkedIn dynamics are so different. If you think about the Logan Paul and his brother, these guys have been in controversy after controversy after controversy, and they're still relevant. So, I think controversy in the business sense of a LinkedIn type platform might make you irrelevant to some people, but it won't stop you showing up. These are the things.
I think they're separate things, though. If controversy is part of your brand and attention at all costs is what you
right.
Monsters, right? I think it's different when you talk about relevance. And in a world, and the Gary Vee example is a really interesting one, because when I was learning about marketing and aspiring and actually running a social media agency at the time, the whole point of this was really aspirational. I took a lot of value. But Gary still says the exact same things today. And maybe there is foundational beliefs. My life's evolved. I'm thinking about different things in my life now. And actually, if his message evolved, instead of doing garage sales and flipping products, he loves that stuff, right? That's maybe just him. But I don't know. I think there's something different. I'm obsessed with how do you stay relevant
what's funny is, I actually spoke to a young person the other day, very young, only just graduated uni young. And he said that he only just heard about Gary Vee and had that exact same experience that you were talking about.
Really?
And, that means to me that Gary is the king of the top of the funnel. For 25 years, this guy's been talking to people that are just getting into their careers, giving them that inspiration. And he's still doing it to this day. He's gaining more followers now than probably he did even back then because of the cascading effect of his millions of followers over time. But honestly, yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? You honestly want these people that you have a pseudo relationship and you hope they evolve with you, but they continue to keep talking to the people that you once were 5 years ago in your career or something like that, It's so interesting that.
I will say though, Chris, Gary has he's the prime example of ruining his algorithm. I'll tell you why. He's got however many subs, such a small proportion of views. He hasn't stayed relevant. On his Instagram, his proportion of views and engagement to reach is absolutely dived because his massive cohort of followers no longer care. So if you think about that as we're all in interest-based algorithms, as they are shifting in a dynamic sense in real time, his audience that he's cultivated over. So I would argue that he may be introducing new people to the funnel. And I actually think he died after he did the VM Friends thing, the NFT scam, where he made
Yeah.
100 mil. That was an NFT scam where he did some doodle, and I'm going to call it a scam because that's fundamentally what it was. I think he died at that point. That in my view.
I think it's the reason why he's dying is because I think it's because his personality. I don't think it's the truth. Unfortunately, I think he's got a personality that you grow out of. Because he's very
I know
like
what you mean by that.
it's like Mr. Beast. Like it's the same but different. Where it's like high energy, yap 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 yap. Like that's what a lot of his content is. It's like him on stage or being
Becomes
like,
very samey,
It's
doesn't it?
samey. All his words seem to just blur into one. And I just think because I used to be a big Gary Vee fan when I was younger. Like this guy, like entrepreneur, garage art, go to the garage sales. I mean, flipping. You know, I used to like flipping, like off eBay and stuff. And I used to be like, wow, this guy's sick. Like, you know, he's kind of old. He looks oldish, but like he's sort of speaking to young people. And then as I grew older and wiser, I was like, I mean, this guy is just like, I don't know. I'm sure he's a great guy, but his content just, I would like to see it a bit more just chilled out and relaxed and slower and like just sort of like him open up. I'd feel like it's just, he's always like, oh yeah, I did wine library. Yeah, we know about you, the fucking wine library, mate. You tell us every video. Like, just, that's what, yeah. And Alex Hormozy, I think, has replaced him as the figure that the young guys, I'm going to say, because that's generally the cult audience that he has, is like, he is the new figure that I think those people look up to. In the Iman Gadzi, Alex Hormozy, there's another couple of other guys who are like the younger. Alex Hormozy is a bit older, but then there's also these like 20 to 25-year-olds that are all now really successful. And I think they're a bit more, younger people feel they're a bit more reachable to those because they're a lot younger. Like traditionally, most of the wealthy people on the internet were older people. And now there's so many like 21-year-olds that are appearing to be somewhat successful that I think like the 15 to 20-year-olds are like looking at and going, yeah, that's like who I want to be, you know.
This is why brands always overinvest in young people. You know, if you think of, there's a disproportionate amount of ad dollars spend resource going to marketing to young people for even slightly more mature brands, because if you want to be a legacy company, you need to be relevant to young people in a perpetual way. I think the same rules apply to content creators, celebrities, seemingly entrepreneurs. We've seen what Zuck has done. Did you see the manifesto that was released? There was a leaked email from years ago, and he basically described why he wants to be the leader for young people and be an inspiration. And for him to do that, he can't be seen as corporate tech guy. And it was almost, it was written several years ago. And it's this idea, and you've seen this like reinvention in real time.
He's done it.
Oh, yeah.
I like him now. I think it's, I mean, I didn't really have anything super against him before. I would say a strong point here because Ollie's just going to clip this up and put it on LinkedIn. I don't like it when people have hatred for people who are the leaders of the world. Like Elon, Jeff Bezos, like Zuck. Like I look at people that don't like that and goes, you put yourself in their position and tell me you do a better job. Like they are under tremendous pressure in the world. All eyes are on them. And I think you have to step back and say, okay, fair. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to do things wrong. They're not always the one making the decisions. You have to have a little bit of respect for that. So I've never really hated Zuck, even though, you know, he's been part of lots of things that Meta have done and this, that, and the other. But I'm like, my guy's one of the top bros in the world. Like He
is undoubtedly one of the greatest entrepreneurs of not just this generation ever. And not if you look at the success and impact Meta have had. And yes, there are things that you could criticize him and the company for. If you look at some of the big strategic decisions he made as a young man, he basically turned around to the company when they were all desktop focused and said, we are going all in on mobile. And everyone told him, no, we've got all these projects and we're spending money over here. He went, no, we are pivoting. Everything we do is mobile. If you have a project that is not mobile, we do it again. Everyone criticized him for rebranding Facebook, which was a declining brand in the high eyes of young people as master brand.
Yeah, I forgot about that, to Meta, right? Yeah.
Changed it to Meta. He put his stake in the ground in the future. Everyone criticized his investments in augmentation and in AI. His R&D efforts were obscene, the amount he was spending. Everyone just went, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah.
Focus on your ad product. Focus on your ad. We haven't got the shareholder value. Zuck turned around, reinvented himself in the eyes of the public. He became relevant, cool, interesting. Whether it's a facade fake, whether that's really him and he gets to show that side of him, I don't care. I've always liked him. But whatever you say, you've got to respect his achievements. And as a business leader, there are few that can, hold a torch next to that guy. That's the doesn't probably get the credit he deserves.
I watched an interview yesterday. Someone asked him on TikTok. I saw they asked him what they're spending on, like their AI augmented virtual stuff, and they were like, it was like north of 5 billion. So he actually,
I think
said
he committed to 10. Yeah.
Yeah, she said that their glasses they're not actually spending like as much in the augmented and virtual as actually the glasses is what they've been spending quite a lot of money in, actually.
On that, Ben, give us the overview.
Hardware.
Glasses this week. Meta glasses, that was big. Break it down.
So they've launched their project. It's called Project Orion, right? Project Orion is their new glasses they've launched. They actually got Gokwan on the stage. They should have got Gokwan on. That would have been hilarious if they had just brought Gokwan out with those glasses on. They've been, I don't know how long they've been spending on these, but they seem to just compared to the Ray-Ban Meta glasses, these are augmented reality glasses. So ones where you look through them and you see stuff that's being digitally projected. They're not launched. I don't know when they plan to launch them. They are in this is their prototype. So I imagine the glasses might not actually look like that in the future. I wonder if they have to be that big to house all the tech in them. Who knows? Because they said they had to they've had to. I think why this has cost them a lot of money is that they are moving towards having to actually make the components themselves, because they're so small. They've had to invest in manufacturing heavily to build the stuff in such a small place, which is interesting. That probably cost them a lot of money. It's not like they can just buy the parts off the shelf.
It's not a screen either. That's the interesting thing. It's not.
No, it's not a screen.
It's completely reinventing the technology, whereby they're projecting things into sort of an environment to simulate that augmentation field.
Yeah.
It's like,
I saw Zuck. He interviewed about 3 or 4 years ago, where they asked him about the future of virtual reality, and he has said for a long time that he thinks that we are still 10 years away from virtual reality being strong, and actually augmented reality is the baby step there that's a lot closer. And that's why I guess they are spending so much through the augmented reality. And it's interesting, looking at it versus Apple, that obviously launched what was it called? What was the headset called that Apple launched?
Vision Pro.
The Vision Pro, which I saw that they've stopped developments of the Vision 2 Pro, but I think that was unsuccessful. I think it's too expensive. And Meta are obviously going down a route that's actually affordable for consumers.
It felt like that one was really aimed at developers, though, honestly. A lot of these early tech things are specifically for professionals, that can afford spatial computing attached to their face. Because that's essentially what it is. Their idea was, unlike the Meta Quest or anything that is a virtual reality headset, ours is a spatial computer. So essentially it's attach your Apple MacBook to your face, and then that's what you're actually using. And so people that are developers, now it's not gone as quickly as they thought it would. Honestly, I think they thought that they could get into the iteration of more commercial models much more rapidly to have a budget headset that everyone could get involved in. but it's feeling like it's a few years off that. So, but getting in the game is going to go for developers with that type of new introduction of tech every time. There's no other way to do it. It has to be a high price, and only a few people will find it relevant then.
I think it's when you're on the sort of emerging end of technology, you the price point is going to be inaccessible. What Meta have always tried to do is they said, even when they were getting mocked for that kind of workplace virtual environment they created before with the Oculus, you sit next to your colleague, you're in code.
I remember that.
Those icons, they were terrible. But the idea being is I remember watching an interview with Zuck, and he said, our job is not to compete and serve the 1%. Our job is to try and create hardware that the entire world can afford and use. And there's certain limitations right now if that's our mission. And actually, what you have to do, you have a number of conflating factors. You need hardware development to progress, but you also then need software technology to advance to the point where it becomes useful. And the big moves I loved about what Meta have done, different to maybe some of the other tech companies is, and Snap were the first, by the way, to do the glasses. What Meta did is they went first, we're going to warm people up with a collaboration with Ray-Ban, the most iconic glasses in the world. So I'm going to wear something that looks cool. It might not be super useful. It's got a camera. It's got some interesting features. Yeah, get yours. They actually do look good, and they're not overly heavy. They're quite affordable. What are they, like £300? And a Meta,
yeah, they're like $350.
Yeah, and like a normal pair costs you $150, $200, or whatever. I think they're great. And I go, okay,
these are actually aesthetically all right. Like,
that's what I mean. They look good. That's the number one. If you want people to wear something, it has to look good. So that was their first step. The second step is, if you think of AI advancements, and Meta are actually front runners alongside other technology incumbents. But what they've done is they've really thought, well, multimodal is now a real thing. The ability to use my voice to do commands instead of these and they're doing this, instead of this weird, ninja stuff that everyone else has tried to get us to do. Using your voice is not always practical. There are times when I want to be discreet and don't want to be talking in public. But most of the time I'm comfortable orating commands. And now you can do that through glasses. So before you had limitations, you've got these hardware advancements really on the frontier of R&D. You've got software advancements, and they've created a product that actually looks like it might be useful. And if they can deliver that in an affordable way, and they will probably subsidize it in the same way they did with Oculus, they were losing money on every Oculus headset. If they can democratize that and get the real estate in the same way the iPhone did, they got the hands in the users, maybe this might be the time that augmented hardware glasses might be a thing at a mass level.
I know they were losing money, weren't they, on every Oculus headset for a while. And you're right, this multimodal thing, thinking about it, you've got the video feed input, you've got audio input, you've got gesture control, you've got motion control, you've got all of these different multimodal possibilities to input into a device that can make your experience much more rich. By the way, when you said earlier about augmented being the right step for virtual, I agree. Overlaying stuff in the real world is a lot more useful and less... I think the reason that virtual reality is going to take that long is because of the motion sickness that we all experience when we're all inside the VR headset for so long.
Yeah,
so augmentation is you could just do it so much easier with augmented overlays, So it makes a lot of sense that that's going to be the stepping stone for a lot of people. Now, what these big tech companies really want to do is obviously do what the Oculus was trying to do, which is democratize the headset cost so that you can get more people in the experience. Because essentially that's what Zuck's doing with all of his AI stuff, is open sourcing it. He's not trying to charge a subscription cost. He's trying to give it to you by any means possible. And once you're using it, he's got value, in the same way that using Meta has got your attention. So collecting data from the AI that you're using is going to be more of a metric than the subscription costs he's bargaining, which is a fascinating business model that I didn't really see coming. He's open sourcing to make awareness to get value that way. But he's spending billions doing it.
Everyone's playing checkers. He's playing chess. The man is legacy games. You've got to respect. If you see the foresight of what he's doing, it's easy to mock and go, this. everything that's like really revolutionary is usually very easy to mock at first. You've seen the internet, those old videos. The internet, what a silly thing. People will spy things online. Anytime anything new and revolutionary comes along, it is often mocked. And actually, that's a really strong signal that you should probably go all in on these areas. So one of the reasons I'm really, really down the AI rabbit hole is because initially people are going, this can't take my job. Rubbish at copywriting.
So that's a green flag for you, is it? When people go, this looks like rubbish, you go, I want to get a part of that. You know what's awesome, though? Think about the segue we just did. We talked about a horrific idea of strategy from Marques Brownlee, and then we talked about probably the GOAT of strategy.
Exactly.
Zuckerberg.
You've gone from one end of the spectrum, what not to do, stick to content creation, or build an absolute Death Star empire. They're your choices.
People are criticizing his production methods right now and criticizing the open source nature of it. And I say, no, if he's come up with something here, he's probably onto something, it's very, he's been criticized a lot and he's come through a lot. So yeah, fair enough.
Don't bet against Zuck. One other announcement, and I want to get your take on this, Ben. I don't know if you saw this, but Meta also announced in feed on Reels that they do instant translation between English and Spanish. Are we going to see you propagate Hispanic territories across the world with your content through auto? And it does obviously lip syncing. It will translate your smooth British tones into something a little more spicy. How do you feel about that?
YouTube have also just announced that they're doing that.
Yep, Spotify too.
They're rolling out. It's been in, I think, beta for a few users. They're starting to roll that out across the whole of the platform for language translation.
It's going to be everywhere.
We'll see. I don't know how that's going to play out in terms of like reach and stuff, because yes, people will be able to watch in their native language. Maybe that will make them watch for longer, and it will have impact on. I'm just thinking of what the impact is on views. Yeah, views, retention.
Yeah, retention.
If people can watch in their native language rather than English.
Yes, the immersion. That's the big thing I've always found is overdubbing loses immersion. Have you ever watched like Breaking Bad in Spanish? The characters don't sound anything like Heisenberg, man. It's like, Jesus Christ, you got someone that doesn't even look or sound. You could tell by someone's voice what they look like, kind of. It's kind of interesting.
The point is the advancements in voice synthesis means that actually you're closing that gap quite quickly, right? Before it would, if you just had the voice and you didn't have the lip syncing capabilities, it would be a subpar experience. Why I love this, I go, from a Western point of view, from a person that natively speaks English, my experience isn't going to be improved drastically. But I think, imagine you're in another country where like your content is much more limited, particularly if you don't speak English as a second language. I think this is a wonderful thing. Think of all the amazing like English spoken education content that now can be democratized to places where they don't necessarily understand.
I'm gonna call you out on that. I think there's a lot that us English don't realize is out there. I'm gonna say that there's probably hundreds of podcasts in like South Korean and Japanese and Cantonese that we're gonna go, holy shit, this is actually incredible.
Yeah,
and like it's so interesting to us because we've never seen like stuff like that. I'd say we're gonna get as much influence as. I understand, obviously, that English is the majority of the spoken language in content creation. But I also think that us English-speaking, especially us UK lot that didn't really do much languages at school or whatever. Like, by the way, did you see the other side of the Meta announcements was that Judi Dench and John Cena are now the AI chatbots through Meta?
The pairing we never knew we needed.
I never expected Judi Dench to be an AI meta character that you can interact with. No, I actually never saw that one coming. John Cena, yeah, kinda. He's like a Will.i.am type Snoop character that gets involved in stuff. He's on lots of late night TV shows, and but Judi Dench, what?
I want Ricky Gervais. I think.
Oh man,
that would be the partnership for me.
Have you seen his latest advertising for Dutch Barn vodka?
I did, yeah. I thought it was good.
He's brilliant. I love it. He's like the UK Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah. And it's so symbolic of you've got on one hand, the UK is like Ricky Gervais, average bloke down the street, satire, and then you have the overly dramatic American that's like
exactly
super looking, in great shape. It probably
it's a great like representation of both of our cultures, isn't it? Because Ricky's like he you know, I think of the original Office before the Americans got the Office and thought, oh, it's the biggest show ever and all that stuff. Like we had the UK Office and it was groundbreaking TV. You know, like it was absolutely for its time. I remember being in like uni halls talking with people about it, going, do you like this show? Which is like awkward, cringe comedy. And it's like a 50-50 divide in the room. People say it's the best show it's ever made, and others say it's complete nonsense. They don't understand why people think it's funny. And I thought, brilliant.
I'll say a controversial statement. When I moved to the US, I didn't realize how big the US export of The Office.
Oh my
I didn't realize what cultural phenomenon it was. And it's a very different show, isn't it? So I started
it evolved into a very different show, but it started as an absolute clone of the show. It was a remake, like episode for episode, and then it evolved into a new show as it gained much more notoriety.
And I mean, when I say it is like the biggest cult, living in New York,
it's unbelievable.
All anyone talks about. It's like literally Offices. It's a rite of passage that you know everything. And I'll be honest, I think I prefer the US show. And I don't usually say that. I think the Americans learned many great British programming. Like Shameless was fantastic in the UK. There was so many others that I could name. They've done exports, remakes, not as good. Very different, not to take away from the original, but that's the first time I go, they've done it better in a different way.
The casting was brilliant in both, so I'm 50-50. I love just both. Because Ricky Gervais's character versus Steve Carell is like, you know, it's just, what can you do about that? It's like, you know, they're the two comedic geniuses of our time. But, you know, what I'd say is, this has filled a void since Friends. That's why it got so big. People loved Friends. And it was the number one show for a long, long time. And then all of a sudden, the USA sniffed at the fact that The Office was becoming a cult classic in the UK. And they thought, let's buy the rights from that for Ricky, which made him a multi-millionaire instantly overnight. As soon as they bought the rights for it, he was like, you know, also going to be involved in building the project and making sure that it was true to the original. And then it grew past, and now is the number one, you know, of our time. But it is the Friends of the like noughties, you know, it really is. Is that new? Is that big?
I don't think you can
phenomenon big.
I don't think you can make programming like that today. Like
it's never been done twice. Never has something been remade and it got even bigger as a cultural phenomenon.
I mean
that's really crazy.
I mean, socially, you couldn't get away with those early episodes of The Office. Like,
oh yeah, but that's happened exactly the same with Friends. There's lots of stuff that's said in those shows that now is deemed racist or deemed like xenophobic or deemed misogynistic or deemed all sorts of stuff. You know, life's moved on.
Yeah, still hilarious though. On that point, you mentioned something before we started chatting, Chris. I think it's worth just sharing with the audience. James Cameron was the board of a big AI. Give us the background context and why is this interesting, big, and what can we learn from this?
Well, it comes in a run of huge news with basically the biggest pioneers on the bleeding edge of specific genres. Like Snoop Dogg also did an AI music video, and he's like, you know, one of the biggest musicians in the world right now. James Cameron, probably the biggest living director right now, you know, behind the biggest budget film of all time, Avatar 1. You know, like these
I love
things,
that film.
Yeah, just absolutely incredible VFX, CGI pioneer in the space. Now, Lionsgate also, got involved with Runway, and they've partnered with Runway. But this announcement is that Stability AI, who are a UK-based AI company, who kind of fell out of favor when everyone left. You know, their old CEO, Emad, left, and then a lot of the original team that built the model left. But now the new CEO has appointed some serious hitters on the board of directors. So it looks like they could be really big in the game again. So they're Stable Diffusion, Stable Video Diffusion, Stability AI. That's the team. That's where he's been appointed a board of directors. Now, what he will do basically is he will say, look, I'm making this film. If Runway or Stability AI or whoever he guides in the future, because I'm sure he'll get involved in multiple AI tools eventually, he'll say, this is what I need. This would save me $10 million on the next Avatar 4. If you can build a VFX workflow that works like this and a pipeline that works like that, like that's what a director like me needs on the biggest movie set of all. So like that's awesome product development like that these guys have just gained is people that actually are big movie directors, are big musicians like Snoop Dogg. These guys will be guiding the next stage of AI tool development to make products that they really need.
What I love about this story is if you think of most of these companies, they are thoroughbreds, computer scientists, engineers.
Yes, exactly. They need this cultural influence too.
Cultural influence, but you're bringing in practitioner knowledge. You said it there, the godfather of CGI.
Yeah.
Basically coming in, and he will be able to observe and shortcut so many learnings. Like he knows he knows the industry. He's been at the forefront of this for such a long time. And you go, that's a stroke of genius. We'll see it more and more. I think like will.i.am is appointed on every board. You shared something last night. will.i.am, an advisor over here. He's part of, is it Udio that he's a part of, the music?
Yes, he's part of the founding members of Udio. But in that one I shared with you was Runway are doing 100 films. They're going to finance 100 independent AI films from between $5,000 and $500,000 they can give you for a project. Some even bigger, up to $10 million, I believe they've got. So it's amazing. If you're an independent filmmaker, definitely submit to see if that's a grant that you can unlock for budget to make a full feature film.
I think it's such a wonderful time because what they're doing, all the models want people to build and create on top of their infrastructure. So you now have funds like this with Stable Diffusion trying to harness the collective power of great creative talent to go build with them and build on them and create with them. Now, you've seen this as well. I think it's Anthropic, maybe. One of the other models basically have come out and said, we're launching a fund for AI companies. So we're going to give, if you have an idea for an AI company, we're going to give you 250 grand to start this thing. We'll give you 250 grand worth of I suppose services, and the only catch is you build with us, you use our model, and you're seeing this more and more because this is a race. Don't let anyone get it twisted. This is a wild race for the future. So there's a lot of, if you're a creative or you're an entrepreneur, now is a really good time to keep your ear to the ground, like a really good time.
Things are already going mainstream, which is why it's the good time. Like they've also announced a Tribeca thing with Runway, which is the massive film festival, so biggest film director. And what this does, it like starts a cascade and it needs to come from the top. That's what I've figured out. Like someone who is seen as a pioneer or a leading figure or a tech enthusiast in your niche needs to partner with a big AI company in order for everyone else underneath them to start taking it seriously. Because what James Cameron does by announcing the Stability AI thing is says to all other Hollywood directors out there, by the way, I'm going to be making AI movies. So, if I'm doing it, you're not, you can't say that you're too big to do it. That's what it does. It basically, it's, now it needs to be done in this way instead of the controversial way like Drake did, because Drake used Tupac in a voice, but then he got sued for it. And then he had to take it down. And that was a stunt using AI, but it wasn't anything that was like, I'm cool with this, or I think AI is good for beat making or anything like that. No, it was just a stunt to get his own gains from it. Whereas these guys are all committed to be like board members or like advisories or in partnership with. And that's like the long-term commitment that these AI platforms need to get their mainstream application. And it's a big thing to put your reputation and name behind being the first. Like a lot of Hollywood directors out there use pseudonyms in the AI space. They don't use their real names for fear of judgment for stuff like the writer's strike and others where they could get budgets or stuff taken away from them.
The mob, they will get you if you. It's always hard to walk a path that others haven't. It's history repeating itself.
Well, you basically have to disguise yourself. You know, that's the thing is a lot of these guys are just building in with disguises in mind because they're fear of judgment. But then it legitimizes when someone big puts their reputation and stake behind being public about it. That announcement was everywhere. My mum told me about it. My mum said, "Did you hear that James Cameron joined an AI company?" And I said, "Mum, you don't even know what I do. How do you know that happened?" And she said it made BBC News because it's a UK-based AI company and it's a big American director. And I was like, "Oh, cool."
As if your mum's like more in the know than I am. That's
She watches BBC News relentlessly, mate. It came up as a headline.
I'm like, you told me about this. I didn't know about it, and your mum bet me to it. That's hilarious.
Yeah, but big news in the AI space, right? What a week. Everyone's going mainstream. It's like, seriously, you've got to get involved now because when mainstream happens, the flood starts to pour. Holy God.
You've even got these weird dynamics where I think one of the biggest challenges in the industry right now in AI is they are rock stars and gods of industry. So Mira, who was the CTO of OpenAI for 6.5 years, I won't speak about her shocking interviews over the last few months, but phenomenal leader, inspiration to many, incredible what she's achieved. She's now recently left along with the other lead engineer.
Can I just round out what she achieved?
Yeah,
she personally launched ChatGPT. She personally launched DALL-E 3. And she personally launched GPT-4. So the three biggest AI tools of OpenAI were her personal projects as the CTO. Just to give her some, credit to how amazing she is at what she did. So it's a massive loss.
A huge loss. And what this is, I think it's symbolic of something that's happening. And you're seeing it in Nvidia, and I'll give you just a perspective. You now have these people that have what I'm going to say is like obscene generational wealth of being part of the movement for just a few years and being involved in the industry meets personal ambition. Each one of these leaders of industry can go and start their own company. And with their name, they can raise hundreds of millions to back their own venture. That they have
Ilya Sutskever got 1 billion, hasn't even got a product. Only launched it 3 months ago after he left OpenAI. Got $1 billion.
Yeah, if you're Premier League, you can get billions. If you're a little bit low, hundreds of millions. If you're a kid in your bedroom, you can probably get tens of millions with a good idea. So, like you get the funnel. There's a lot of attention and
wild.
But you've seen this in the video where there's a huge portion of that company when you've taken a company in a 10-year period from a 300 million market cap to almost 3 trillion at one point. When you go on that journey, there is like a third of that business are now multimillionaires. Like a third of their 40,000 workforce are multimillionaires as a consequence of stock options, being the right room, riding the wave, being in the right room. They're now having a productivity challenge because everyone's just kicking back. They're not working that hard. Why would they? They've made it. They've gone on this wave. They rode this wave.
Man.
Results. So what you have in the industry now is the best and brightest talent with the biggest names. They are now going off on their own pursuits and competing with one another. And competition is a good thing, by the way. But then you have this broader thing. If you're part of what is one of these incredibly successful companies, you can become very wealthy very quickly. And then people are just deciding, well, I'm good. Life's good. I'm happy. I'll walk away. So you've got these productivity challenges. So it's a really interesting time in technology at the moment.
I've got an analogy for you on that one. It reminds me of Conor McGregor, the UFC fighter.
Silk Sheen.
You know, when he was, I watched an amazing documentary about him, and he grew up, in a council estate, son of a plumber, and he was hungry for it, and he just fought his way up to being the champion, and then he became like a billionaire because of his whiskey brand, and then is like trying to motivate himself to try and get back in the ring, and he hasn't got the same motivation he had when he was a young, hungry, poor guy. Another analogy I thought of when we were making this episode, by the way, is, when we were talking earlier about people constantly striving to achieve greatness with Gen Z, like Gary Vee and people like this, It's like musicians. That is the plight of a musician. Is if you're in hip hop, for example, lots of young people listen to hip hop, but are you not going to evolve? Are you going to constantly make music for 19-year-olds? Because, that's the thing about musicians is hip hop is a young man's game. If you're going to listen to young people's stuff, but if you're going to be like having a legacy like Jay-Z or Nas or, Snoop or something, you need to evolve as you mature. Like that's the way that content arcs work. You can't constantly be saying the same thing to the same people for 40 years, like Gary Vee's trying to do. You need to constantly evolve with your audience as they grow. Otherwise, you lose your core audience. All of us have been Gary Vee fans at one point. All of us have fallen out of love with Gary Vee. Why? We've moved on. He didn't move on with us.
My main thing was the NFT scam. There was no point, even in the boom when I was
Really? Both of you guys have just, like, you see, with stuff like that, I think there's so many of those people done that stuff that it's like almost not even a very big red flag to me anymore.
I don't even blame him. He made 100 million, and it's people have agency.
That's a lot of money and silly.
I thought he still pushes V Friends, or is this different?
It's not a scam, like it's not an official scam. It's just.
What is it? What do I get?
You get a cartoon.
Why do they all fall into this pitfall, man? Why do they all do it?
You get a cartoon. You got a cartoon JPEG, which is that he drew out himself.
No, what else do I get? Do I get to go to these little V Friend events?
You got to go watch V Friends. He gets a good lineup for that once a year. Is it in? It's somewhere in one of the American states. I don't know which one.
At P Diddy's house.
I don't think it's at P Diddy's.
That's a very terrible reference.
Yeah, it's Oh, that is why we did going to do a full-on like conspiracy theory episode. I have beat down the P Diddy.
God.
I'm telling you, there's gonna be a pic of P Diddy and Gary next week. Like, I don't know.
Let's leave it at that small reference, please. Let's leave it there.
I'm just saying, I'm so Gary. We shouldn't have put you in the same sentence. P Diddy. However, I want to finish. Ben's been awfully quiet, or he came and just derailed me. I want to leave you, Ben. I've got one thing written down in my notes. Yellow badges are gone on LinkedIn. Oh, yeah. Yellow badges. So for anyone that didn't know, you could...
they're going, not gone.
Going. There's a yellow badge, and you could earn it by contributing to the LinkedIn community in a positive way, by adding like more thoughts to articles. And you know what? They're going, we're getting rid of this. We're going back to the House of Lords, curated. We're going to pick you. You get a badge. How do you feel about that? Is that a good thing, a bad thing? What are you saying, Ben? Hit me.
Is there an equivalent on TikTok?
Yes. Well, blue tick.
Oh,
blue tick. You can't. TikTok's now like one of the only platforms where you can't buy a blue tick. I am so surprised they haven't. They are literally the biggest money grabbers ever. I am so surprised they haven't launched like a subscription blue tick. Yeah. They will do. I bet they will, because they know how much money that would generate them. Which is why the other platforms have done it. Like, I wonder whether LinkedIn will introduce something as well, like a
you've got the obviously
got the verification, and then you've got the
I just bribed some people internally. I said, come on.
I like that TikTok still has that though, because I do think
it's probably the only one. It's
having
the only
a blue
one.
tick. Instagram used to have it where you would only get it if you were like, in the public domain, or you were had to go through some approval process. So I do think it holds its value there, but I don't mind them getting rid of them.
I agree. North Korea, let's dictatorship. Let's, you can't contribute to our community to be champion. We need to pick you. That's what I think.
Well, do you know what actually it does? Is this is a funny thing and it's an AI segue. Even if you charged 1 cent to access Meta, then you would put off someone creating 100,000 bots with AI, because that's now like $10,000 gamble. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, as soon as you monetize something, you have to prove that your payment is coming from a human. Therefore, you have to add your ID, which is the other thing that all these platforms want to do. Is the real verification is, are you a human? Because in the age of AI, there's just going to be so many non-humans, and advertisers don't want to pay to reach these non-humans. That's not valuable to them.
On that, I'll share both the story. This is a true story. I pay the £13 a month on Instagram to be verified, not because I'm a vain arsehole. I'll tell you why I do it. I was getting people message me daily, fake accounts being made up.
Yeah, exactly.
I've had clients ring me, lose £7,000.
Rough.
I was on a flight once. A client is like ringing me as I'm about to go up in the air, and he said, I just want to check, have you, that investment you told me about? I said, I'm just call you when I land. He got scammed out of £7,000. A cleaner at our offices got scammed out of money. My cousin, until my dad intervened, and they kept popping up because on one hand, I'm a very trusted voice. So when I say go buy this thing, honestly, you would not believe how incredibly sophisticated. Being honest, I was sent the screen grabs. I complained to Meta high up the chain so many times. Nothing happened. So I just had to verify my account. So it was that I'm forced as an ethical responsibility to stop others getting scammed and getting messaged every day. It's awful. It's a weird story. And what,
actually, another segue, that's happened to Marques Brownlee a lot. Going full story, one of the biggest issues with YouTube's is comments whereby they look like a version of the author. So they can make, fake Marques Brownlee YouTubes and send them to private links to paying crypto for the wallpaper app. And then all of a sudden you think you're accessing the official one, and it's a cloned version that's hosted by a scammer or something like this. That's a serious issue. I don't know when they're ever going to do anything about that.
Exist everywhere.
I think it's less an issue for a big celebrity because, at that point, it's an IQ test. I'm not being funny, but there is a world where there's this sub-tier of people that maybe have, authority in one thing, where they don't have an audience. It's more realistic that I would reach out to someone with an investment opportunity than Marques.
I know what you mean.
The distinction, I spoke to Steve about this. Steve gets so many bots, fake accounts, all this stuff. And he said, yeah, I've never had this. He'd never had anyone actually get truly scammed with money. He's had lots of people say, come on, pretend to be guest bookers for his podcast. All that type of stuff. And I was getting scammed after scam, and everyone's messaging me. And I felt this moral obligation. I kept saying it publicly. I'm really sorry. I can't do anything. I'm complaining. Yeah. And I just went, you know what? I'll pay my £13 a month as my civic duty.
That's actually kind of a funny Friday thought to think. I'm getting really excited because I think I'm getting booked on the Diary of a CEO, whereas actually it was just some random guy that completely duped me into getting excited that they thought I was famous and worthy enough to go on that podcast. You're a nobody! Oh, it's hilarious. Imagine that, because we all have that, don't we? Human beings have this false perception of how amazing we are in the world. It's just one of our things that we have. And
someone messaged me those bots that tell you, they go, you know what, you're amazing. I've really admired your career. I always listen. I go, maybe you're right.
Yeah. They tell you the same things that a palm reader would tell you, don't they? They tell you as much open stuff to make you see meaning in it, even though there was no meaning in what they said. You're just reading in between the lines because that's the language they use. It's very deceptive.
Say that again. Actually, you know what? Reciprocity means I'm going to respond to you. I know you're a bot. I know you're full of shit. I know you're lying to me to stroke my ego, but I'm gonna eat the bait. You've heard it here, folks. You want to get in touch with me? Pay me a compliment.
God, this episode went everywhere, didn't it? We talked about literally James Cameron to Marques Brownlee to scams on YouTube. It went bloody everywhere. I love it.
On that note, we should call it a day, gents, and go do some real work. Cool. All right, fellas.
Sweet. Bye-bye.
See ya.